again. Because if I'm not live, when I go off the live, my neighbors like to take advantage of the fact that I'm not live recording a video, and then they start talking all kinds of shit, trying to make it seem like they're gangster. The proxy stalkers, I'll tell you for a fact, they're not gangster because no gangster shits where they fucking sleep, and that's on God. Anybody who's willing to do this to me in a place where they live is definitely getting paid by somebody because I don't know an intelligent person smart enough. I don't know any person that's part of a crime ring who's stupid enough to shit where they sleep. That's how you get arrested. That's how you end up in jail. Uh, so as much as they want it to seem like it's gangsters in the neighborhood, it's not. It's an organized group of people. It's not gangsters in the neighborhood. It's not gangsters in the neighborhood. Gangsters in the neighborhoods, I think they're cheering for me because I've hung on this motherfucking long. Gangsters in the neighborhood fist bump me. If we really want to know, right? Uh, Not worried about it. So again, I want to reiterate, the people have not gotten their angry voice file, probably I want to say in a week or so. I can't remember the last time I was angrily screaming about nothing. Um, and the longer I go without doing that, the more invasive their tactics get. Uh, so they keep saying it's every time I do something, every time I do something. But every time I do something, it's the result of every time that they do something. So this is just like a never ending story of just like pettiness. And I'm trying my best. I'm recording because I don't want to be petty and I want to let everyone know that I'm not out there being petty. So I have a live stream going to let everybody know I'm safe and sane. I'm not going to make threats to my neighbors. I'm not trying to make it a hostile living environment because that's what I'm experiencing. I don't want this to go onto other people undeserving. People who are deserving, they can't sit here and listen to me talk my shit all night long. So, uh, I want to talk about the activity today. I was riding a bus. I want to say I tapped right. I remember tapping. I started loading money onto my tap card, and there's like, supposedly I should have loaded $20, but I've only been able to use like 6 of it. And then the network is telling me that all these people have access to my whatevers, and so when I start noticing these funny things, I gotta figure out why it's funny. Like, why Metro doesn't want me tapping my tap card. I tap my tap card because Metro transit system probably has the most cameras in Los Angeles, right? Like most cameras running. So the reason I tap my tap card is because there's a network of people in Los Angeles that have gone out of their way to try to make me feel fear for my life. And I think it's important to record every place that I go to so that in the event that I show up missing, you guys know exactly what it is that I was doing. So that's why I tap my tap card. So when I get on bus, I should get off. I will. When I get onto transportation that does not allow me to use my tap card to record my location, I'm gonna get off that bus. And that's my cat doing zoomies. So one of the things that I have to do, that's part of my whole thing. That's what they want. They want my devices on airplane mode because they are really committing crimes with my name, and they need me not to have location services on. I prefer to have location services on because I think the crimes that they're committing are in places that I'm not. And I think it becomes very hard to dispute the readings of my Apple Watch, my phone, and my iPad. So I don't really like having them off, but because of, like, so here's how their thing works. Once they get you to turn it off, they double down on the harassment because they think that they have the ability to force you to turn all your shit off, and they do. But when I go out in public, I'll turn all my shit back on again because I don't care. I don't care if you can see my bank account balance, if you're reading out my account numbers. If you have to do that, you're part of a criminal network. Like, that's your job, I guess. So it's not gonna do anything to make me angry. I'm gonna sit here and document it so that when the day comes for the authorities to get you, I've documented everything that it is that you're doing. They could just scoop you up. The reason I think Netflix might be coming out with a Little House on the Prairie is because they don't want you stealing from them. They don't want you stealing from them, and they're trying to get you to see things from my perspective. Because where you're at right now, you're in thief mode, survival mode, and your survival, you think it depends on your ability to buy like fancy cars and shit you don't need. The whole point of them coming out with Little House on the Prairie is to show you you don't need all that shit. So just like be happy with what you got, right? Be happy with what you got. Be happy with what you got. Be happy with what you got. I'm happy with what I got. I'm happy even with you guys following me. It makes my life so much more interesting. They say like, why aren't you terrified? Because that's your intention, and I don't like you. That's as simple as that. If you got yourself arrested by fucking with me, that's your own fault. Please, everybody do know my name by the time we're done here. The goofy boots. See, and then all of this, you guys make me feel guilty. Like, I can't even go and get my goofy boots and be happy just about having uh, obtained a goal, reached a goal of mine to get motherfucking goofy boots. So, I don't even want them now. You know why? Because leather will grow moldy if it's in the right situation. So I don't even want my goofy boots. when I think about how all of the self-help stuff that I watch, and then I see people around me uh, groom themselves differently, it lets me know that they're looking at me through jealous eyes. People don't change the way that they groom or their appearance for no reason. They change because they think, like, some people probably think I can read them, so they think if they change something and make themselves look a certain way, I won't be able to read it. It's nothing to do with how you are presenting yourself. It does have everything. Like the guy on the bus today who was unshaven and just was giving off predator energy. It's not every unshaved person. There were two men. It was a black man and I don't know what he was, but he's like a dark haired, kind of brown skin, but not really. I would say maybe Middle Eastern man. Uh, Two men on the bus today, similar appearances. Both look dirty as fuck because, like, shaving in the work world at one point was a requirement. Like, you have to come to work clean shaven. You can't come to work with a 5 o'clock. They didn't want no 5 o'clock fucking shadows. So to see people just walking around and it looks bad, right? Maybe that's people say that about me. Mine's intentional. Maybe theirs is intentional, but these people are holding onto their phones like they want to be entertained or they want company or they want a friend or something. But you look bad, you know. If you want people to want to hang around you, you got. I could tell you three things right now you can fix, and you can have all kinds of people wanting to be your friend, right? So my knowledge of that is it goes for myself too. Mine is intentional. I don't want you around me. So those things that I picked out on these other people, similar. Like the back of your neck, go get a haircut. Men, you need to get a haircut. That's the reason I got my cosmetology license is because throughout the rest of time, based off of society's standards, there's always going to be men out there needing to get their hair cut. Always, always, always. Men are not, some of them going to cut it themselves, but the men that want to look pretty, be a pretty bitch, they're going to go have somebody cut that shit for them. It's a very hard thing to do is to cut your own hair. Um, so when I see men with the hair on their neck overgrown, like they need to cut that shit, you can tell I'm making judgments about you on all levels because you're lazy. That's lazy. You don't have a hairstyle. Like that's lazy. If you want me to fucking live up to your standards for society and wear deodorant and shit and do all of that shit, I'm looking at your fucking hair as the first reason why I don't. The reason why I don't give a shit is because you're walking around thinking that your hair looks good like that. So if you could feel okay looking like, then we just make society look messier and nastier and dirtier over time. And then, like, that's caveman. The back of that amount of hair you got on the back of your neck, you look like a caveman. Uh, right? A haircut is a necessity. That's a field that should never ever, I should never ever have to worry. The only reason I would if I were to go to do that in the position that I'm in right now is because you guys make false reports against people. So you cannot file a false report against somebody who does not do that. So everything. When people, so like tonight, let's say tonight, the whole make sure you see my phone on the bus so you can talk about this on your YouTube, talk about me. Uh, did you get your voice file, your angry voice file? We're gonna go on a walk in a little bit. if people on TV are talking about, oh, that's what I want to watch. I want to watch all these people that's getting their jobs taken away. I never imagined. I never took that person as a party boy, but I guess whatever makes you feel good, makes you feel like you got friends, like people look up to you. Power is an addictive drug too. Look at this. This is a good one. You got
Most
tired of
days,
that
we
shit.
get more of
You
LA.
got your fucking
The forgotten
Manchurian
Hollywood
candidate
secret
right
for
there.
staying slim. Which is better, green or black olives?
All olives actually start off green, but as they ripen, they get blacker and blacker. In fact, olive producers like to time.
Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I'll analyze the case of Frank Villi. First I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Francesco Villi was born on January 2, 1949 in Italy. He went by the name Frank. In 1966, he and his mother moved to Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He started his own general contracting company called Villi Construction. At some point, Frank married. He went on to have 3 daughters and ultimately divorced. He became estranged from his daughters later. Frank injured his back and his right knee on a job site in November 1973. In 1974, he hurt his back again. In July 1986, he was involved in a motor vehicle collision. Someone rear-ended his vehicle. The same thing happened 2 more times. In July 1990. A few months after that, he fell off a ladder at work. At this point, Frank said that he decided to abandon society because the world was moving toward lies and corruption.
Get down,
He
Gibby.
purchased 34 acres of property in rural Ontario, where he constructed a 6-bedroom house. He was involved in 2 more motor vehicle collisions in 1993 and diagnosed with adjustment disorder. This disorder is characterized by symptoms like anxiety and depression brought on by a stressor. But the symptoms are not severe enough to qualify for another diagnosis like generalized anxiety disorder or major depressive disorder. With all the mental and physical problems Frank had, he missed a lot of work, but his health insurance paid for his time off. In 1995, the insurance company stopped making the payments. Frank went to court to fight this decision, but he was accused of lying about the extent of his injuries and how often he was working. Ultimately, Frank went bankrupt and fell behind on child support payments. Eventually, he had to return to work to make a living. In October 2008, Frank moved to the town of Vaughan, which is just north of Toronto. He purchased Unit 414 in a condominium building called the Valeria Residences, located at 9235 Jane Street. This was a 767 square foot, 1-bedroom, 1-bath unit. The building was still under construction at this time. Frank was one of the first unit owners. Right away, Frank was unhappy with his new home. He said the garbage room was improperly vented into an underground parking garage. Frank joined the condominium board hoping to make changes, but the other members found him to be argumentative. He complained so frequently they could barely get any work done. Ultimately, Frank was removed from the board. Over the next several years, he moved in and out of the building. He sold Unit 414, then purchased and moved into Unit 104, which was 21 square feet smaller. After complaining about a terrible odor in the unit, Frank moved out and rented it to someone else. In 2015, he attempted to sell Unit 104, but he encountered a problem. A new phase of the condominium building had recently been constructed. It featured several comparable units with lower maintenance fees. Frank's unit was not competitive enough to attract prospective buyers. After 5 months of trying to sell it, he gave up and moved back in. Not surprisingly, Frank would once again be unhappy with his living arrangement. In 2017, he sent an email to the condominium building property manager, complaining about an electrical room that was directly below his unit. He believed that electrical equipment in that room was producing harmful electromagnetic waves that were penetrating his unit. He referred to this as dirty electricity. Frank claimed this caused an odor, vibration, and excessive heat and noise in his unit. He had multiple symptoms like tingling, rashes, fatigue, depression, headaches, brain fog, and asthma. In Frank's opinion, the source of the problem was the improper construction of the electrical room. He proposed a solution that involved constructing a drop ceiling in the room. Frank even offered to pay the estimated cost of $10,000 to make the upgrade, but only under the condition that he personally supervised the construction crew. The board of directors for the condominium investigated Frank's complaint. They consulted electricians, air quality experts, and the fire department. No problems were identified in Unit 104, but Frank continued to be unsatisfied. Over the next few years, his behavior became increasingly erratic. For example, he would roam the hallways of the building at night screaming. He frequently confronted condominium staff and residents, voicing his complaints and talking about a conspiracy to harm him. Frank once told a front desk worker that he would soon be walking with a baseball bat. During the summer of 2018, the property manager sent an email to the board of directors asking them to address the situation with Frank. She claimed that Frank was mentally ill and was getting everyone around him sick too. In November 2018, the board sought a restraining order against Frank, accusing him of threatening, abusing, intimidating, and harassing condominium residents, staff, and board members. In June 2019, Frank filed a $1 million lawsuit against the condominium corporation, the property management company, and the city of Vaughan. He maintained that noise and vibration issues were being caused by the electrical room and said he was being harassed because the board had poisoned everyone in the building against him. In October 2019, the court ordered Frank not to make social media posts about the board members and not to video record them without their consent. He was not allowed to communicate with them either. He could communicate with property management, but even this was restricted. Only email was permitted. Frank responded by suing his attorney, saying that she was a criminal who was in a conspiracy with the board of directors to take him down and defraud him of legal fees. He also made a report to the police, claiming his life was in danger. During the same year, 2019, Frank legally purchased a Beretta 92A1 chambered in 9mm Luger. This is a later variant of the Beretta 92F, famously wielded by Bruce Willis in the 1988 movie Die Hard. In December 2020, Frank filed another lawsuit. This time he was asking for millions of dollars and targeting the board members. He claimed that he had been taking several medications due to the poorly constructed electrical room, like he needed these medications to treat the conditions caused by the electromagnetic field. A mental health professional wrote a letter indicating that Frank had problems like anxiety. Even though this was in support of his lawsuit, Frank denied having a mental disorder and never attended mental health counseling sessions as recommended. Frank indicated that he was not a threat to the board members, rather they were a threat to him. Despite making this declaration, Frank continued harassing people in the building. He would enter the lobby and scream at people, claiming that they were going to burn in hell for selling him out, and he would call the condominium staff frauds and criminals. The board president, John Danino, would regularly pick up his mother, who lived in the same building as Frank. When John would arrive, Frank would yell obscenities at him. When John would return later, Frank was still there. During one incident, a property manager locked herself in her office as Frank screamed at her through her door. She ended up quitting just after one day on the job. By 2024, 4 property managers, including this one, had left the position. In September of that year, a judge found Frank in contempt because he communicated with the condominium corporation in violation of the 2019 court order. Frank was ordered to pay the corporation's legal costs of $29,500. There could have been other consequences as well resulting from this verdict, like being evicted, but the board requested to stay the penalty phase. They wanted to see how things would play out. Perhaps Frank's behavior would improve over time. After this, Frank did calm down quite a bit, and he paid the legal costs as ordered. Within a few months, however, he was back to his old behavior, claiming that the board was deceptive and demanding his money back with interest. The litigation was costly to the corporation. The board passed a special assessment of over $30,000 to cover the legal fees. This did not help Frank win any popularity contests among the residents. They were now paying for his misbehavior.
Because there are tired dogs in your area, there are drivers in your area. Uber. What are you waiting for? Give it a shot. We're talking immunity boosting, ginger burning, turmeric kicking, cayenne zapping plant power. Benefits stacked, action packed to fuel every adventure. Vive Organic. Give it a shot.
Your business is going places. We made a card to go with it. A card that gets you up to 10% back on the travel. Oop, watch your head there. Put spending power wherever you need it. Keep spend control wherever you want it, which is everywhere, obviously.
In 2020,
What I have to say is, this guy sounds like he's being gang stalked. And I'm thinking about in my own case, like for instance today, a man on the bus had an green iPhone 17, and I had just taken off my, I wear a little visor that keeps my retinas from being scanned. And I had just taken it off to like let the people know I'm not wearing it for them. But he did this stuff to like make me think that I need to wear it. They don't want me walking around showing my face. So they think that increasing the intensity of the attack after I do something they don't want me to do is going to make me return to that behavior. It's like shock treatment. It is electronic device harassment treatment. When I took off my face mask, my phone stopped working. They want me walking around with the face mask on. I will throw the phone away. That's it. Because if they have my facial, it's the same as having me turn off location services, facial recognition. Everybody's like, facial recognition, so scary, so scary. No, that's how they commit crimes in your name. If you are so scary that you cover up your face and cannot be found on facial recognition anywhere, if you look like you're so scary that you don't want to be seen on facial recognition everywhere, I do not care about being seen anywhere that I go. It's not a mental thing. I notice every time when I do something, all these people are having a problem with it. So I'm going to let them continue to have a problem with me walking out and being unbothered by them. You're my best friend. Oh, that's right. Go check that. V2K said Weinstock Mannion, so I'm gonna go check the docket. Oh, what's this? Extension till 6/29. Extending till 7/9. 17. Still 710. You gotta decide on certain motions by 710. There's a lot going on in this. $6.29's coming up. It's just 3 days from now. Look, can't generate an AI overview right now. Try it again later. That's how much they control shit. Isn't that crazy? We don't do AI. They're like, man, we took our shit off. How can you take your shit off with AI? You must know some people. Because that's how I got past the paywall before. I got past the paywall and now my phone doesn't work. AI. That's my only. I've never used AI except for to find out. I can't say I never used AI, right? You have. Everybody's used it. But I don't. I have not used it in any like way really, aside from creating photos and what else. So it's okay. What is the world coming to? You're my best friend. You're a real bad bitch. Finish? Oh, so here's what I wrote in my stalker journal so you can hear it. Man on bus made sure I saw him pointing his green iPhone 17, looks like Pro Max, at me. Kitty, stop it. He got off at the Fatburger exit on the Santa Monica Boulevard bus line, the number 4. My murder is hilarious. It's very fumbled. If they don't make me look like a complaining asshole, they won't be able to kill me in the way that makes it so nobody investigates my death. Right? If they make me look like a big old asshole, everyone's gonna be like, deserved it. I think that my death is very much worthy of an investigation, and similar to this guy who I'm watching right now. That's part of the picture. You guys are gonna portray a picture and show all these moments of me. So I want to make sure I have my own moments as well, because he can't possibly be like that 24 hours a day, right? Like, you think that that's, you can't possibly be like that 24 hours a day. Uh, you know what has stopped? I would say what has stopped is the 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, at least to my knowledge, maybe it's a different way now. They have to do it a different way. Because maybe the 15 minutes was only when I was actively taking notes in my journal on everything it is that they're doing. I bet if I go back to paying attention, I can figure out the 15 minutes every 15 minutes again. But I started living like, who has time for that? And the more I go and do that, the more the harassment increases. So if I'm not talking about it, it's so extreme. They want me to just talk about it. The more I talk about it, it's just like whatever, and it continues, and that's what they want me to do, right? Be a complaining bitch. This bitch will not shut up about these people doing things to her, and look, they're just normal people. They're just normal people who don't have real jobs. That's all stolen money. They might have real jobs, they might be famous people, but the networks they run in, the things that they're doing with their money, is murder. Uh, Ja Rule has a song about it. It's murder. Right? Everybody. Everybody. Uh, Look, is that somebody driving by screaming stuff? Not at me. It can't be at me. It can't be at me because it's not. I'm not a part of it. If I've touched a funny bone of yours, you're a criminal. All the people upset about me are criminals. All the people upset about me are criminals.
Two, Frank's antics became even more troubling. On social media, he posted a series of videos complaining about the alleged injustice he was experiencing and went to the police to falsely accuse the condominium corporation of crimes. When the police dismissed his nonsense, he started picketing outside the building with signs indicating that his adversaries were killers. Even more disturbing, Frank did this while wearing pajamas. His signs claimed injustice, but his outfit said, "I just lost the fight with bedtime." In August 2022, the court declared Frank to be a vexatious litigant. He was no longer permitted to initiate court proceedings without prior authorization from a judge. This would bring an end to the frivolous lawsuits, but it did not stop Frank from harassing people in the building. The board decided to reinstate the penalty phase from the September 2021 court ruling. They wanted to evict Frank from the building. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On December 9, 2022, the condominium building had a Christmas party. Residents were surprised when Frank showed up. In defiance of the court order, he approached the board members and wished them a Merry Christmas. He shook their hands and explained how he just wanted to get along with them. This did not stop the eviction process. A hearing was scheduled for December 19, 2022. The likely outcome of this hearing was Frank being forced to sell his unit. He probably would have been provided 3 months to do this. On December 18, 2022, one day before the scheduled hearing, 73-year-old Frank Villi posted a 16-minute video on Facebook featuring many of his usual complaints. He declared that he only wanted peace and comfort, and he had dedicated his life to love and respect
See?
for humanity. Frank believed that everyone was afraid of the board except for him. He said, "I will speak until my last breath against these criminals."
Criminals.
At 6:58 p.m., Frank walked out of his unit carrying his Beretta pistol. This is the one he had purchased in 2019. He pulled the fire alarm, which would have discouraged or prevented people from using the elevators. He went to the 16th floor and knocked on the door of a unit occupied by 79-year-old Vittorio Panza and his 57-year-old wife and condominium board member Rita Camilleri. When Rita answered the door, Frank shot her and her husband to death.
Wow.
A neighbor called 911 at 7:20 p.m. after hearing the gunshots and seeing Frank with a pistol in his hand. Frank made his way to the nearby unit of 59-year-old board member
Ooh, he got
Naveed
more than
Dana
one of them.
and shot him. Naveed called 911 before dying. Frank made his way to the penthouse and knocked on the door of the board president, John Danino, and his wife, Doreen. The couple was hosting friends that evening. When Doreen answered the door, Frank shot her one time in the jaw, then stepped inside the unit. He pointed his pistol at John, but he did not fire. John threw a crystal vase and a candy dish filled with Christmas chocolates at Frank. The friends joined in and started throwing objects as well. One of them ran toward the door and grabbed Doreen, whose foot was keeping the door open. This permitted the friends to close and lock the door. 66-year-old Doreen survived the shooting. After this attack, Frank walked down 12 flights of stairs and went to the unit of 75-year-old board member Russell Manick and his 71-year-old wife Lorraine. He shot both of them to death. At this point in the rampage, Frank had killed 5 people and wounded 1 person. By now, the police were in the building looking for the shooter. On the 3rd floor, an officer encountered Frank as he was attempting to enter one of the units. Initially, the officer believed that Frank was simply another resident trying to access his unit.
Frank lost his
However,
shit.
the officer then saw the Beretta pistol in Frank's hand. The officer pointed his service pistol at Frank, a Glock 22 chambered in .40 caliber S&W, and said, "Drop the gun. Do not move." Frank told the officer to shoot him. The officer replied, "I do not want to shoot you. Drop the gun." Instead of complying,
And
Frank raised his pistol as if he was going to point it at
Right.
the officer.
is it
The officer
bad if
responded
I
by
say,
firing his Glock 22
as a
4
gang stalking
times.
victim,
Frank was struck
at
twice in his
least Frank
torso,
got his lick
dropped
back?
the Beretta, leaned against the wall, then collapsed onto the floor. He was pronounced dead at the scene.
Right?
Now moving to my
It's
analysis.
only one of him. He
Here are
got
my
how
thoughts
many
on
of
a few
them?
areas that stood out to me
Go
in this
ahead,
case.
Frank.
Item number 1. Frank's daughters told the media that he was a controlling and abusive
Go
husband and
ahead.
father with a history of domestic violence. He was aggressive and possessed a Jekyll and Hyde type personality. His daughters had cut ties with Frank after repeatedly attempting to help him. Item number 2. In the wake of the mass shooting, most people condemned Frank's actions. A murder spree is not an acceptable response to resolve a grievance about a condominium, whether the grievance is legitimate or not. It is not unheard of for condominium residents to become displeased with board members. Resolving disputes is a difficult job, and parties are sometimes unsatisfied with results. These bad experiences can result in feelings of intense hatred. This may explain why a small number of people came forward and expressed some level of empathy for Frank. For instance, a former board member in Frank's condominium building indicated that Frank was not a monster and said, "I think he was someone who was failed by the system. For it to get to this level,
Failed by the
I don't
system.
understand." Other people took a much more extreme position and outright defended Frank, suggesting that the board members had it coming. Being a condominium board member has always been a thankless job. Now it appears to be a dangerous job as well. Item number 3, what do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Frank was paranoid and believed that he was being adversely affected by an electromagnetic field, or EMF. Sometimes this condition is referred to as electromagnetic sensitivity, or EHS. In the research, it is often called idiopathic environmental intolerance attributed to electromagnetic fields, or IEI EMF. I will just call it EHS. The condition was prominently featured in the popular television series Better Call Saul. In the show, the protagonist, Jimmy McGill, has an older brother named Chuck McGill. Chuck claims that he experiences physical pain, anxiety, disorientation, and other symptoms when exposed to EMFs. It negatively affects
So you have to be
Chuck's
very
function
careful
and
about
leads
what you
people to
complain
believe that
about.
he is mentally ill. EHS is a controversial condition
Right?
that does
When
not
they
really
say one
have
more
much
email,
support
one more
as
email,
far as its
they
legitimacy.
want it to be one more
The weakest
angry
EMFs that
email.
have been shown to induce biological cognitive effects are at least 25 to 50 times stronger than what people encounter in daily life. Studies have not identified any scientific basis for linking EMF
They have a
exposure
recipe
to
for
mental
this.
or physical health symptoms. There have been several studies where participants have been exposed to real or fake EMFs. Consistently, the results of these studies have shown that people cannot reliably detect EMF exposure. Several mental health diagnoses are associated with EHS, including depression, anxiety, OCD, OCPD,
When I was
somatic
talking
symptom
about
disorder, illness anxiety disorder, and several disorders associated with
electric,
psychosis. Frank was
electronic
diagnosed with
harassment.
adjustment disorder. He may have had other disorders as well. I believe that several factors combined to make Frank very dangerous. For example, paranoia, conspiratorial thinking, his fear of EMFs,
Do you
anger,
hear that?
vindictiveness, possible psychosis, and a sense of entitlement.
All of
Frank
this.
came to believe that the board members were conspiring to kill him
It's a recipe.
using EMFs. There was no evidence to support his theory. An inspection found nothing wrong with his unit. The only thing short-circuiting was Frank's grip on reality. The board installed a new thermostat and adjusted a fan to reduce noise, but nothing satisfied Frank. He was insistent that an EMF was damaging him. He believed the board was hiding the truth. Angry and afraid, Frank went on a shooting rampage. Mental health counseling probably would have helped Frank, but he refused to comply with the treatment recommendation. Paranoia often prevents people from getting the help they need. Frank said he wanted peace and comfort, but in the end, he chose neither.
So in my
He used
case,
his last breath
there's
not to
a
expose criminals,
there's a
but to
panel in
become
my
one.
bathroom.
Those are my thoughts in the case of Frank Philly.
This is Dr. Todd Grande. I don't know how much knowledge he has about what. Doctor sounds like graduate school. So I'm glad it almost seems like he presented it unbiased slightly in the favor of the people who would benefit from murdering him. But I hope that in the event I'll pass away, I at least get a video like this. So Dr. Todd Grande, if you're listening, please pay attention to my story, because everything you mentioned about this guy sounds like what I'm experiencing here. But that's what I'm saying. It's not a mental condition, doctor. It is a manuscripted torture test. The ultimate findings is that there's no what? The ultimate finding is going to be that there's no mold, right? So in my instance, they very much made it seem like there's going to be a little bit of mold. They want me to be complaining about it. I'm just asking to be tested because mold is a serious thing. You cannot blame me for damage in your apartment if I've been complaining about it since 2022. And I've asked repeatedly to have somebody come and test it, and it's always been overlooked. So I'm not angry about it because I don't own it. It's not like I'm a owner. Like, doing this to somebody, you would think that they would be angry about their belongings, and I've explained where a lot of my belongings come from. So it's not a it's not a loss for me if it's intended to be like, let's take everything, make her angry, make her seem crazy, and then we're gonna do this, and then she's gonna go. Like, I don't know if they expected him to do that, if that's what is part of the recipe. Uh, Even the parts, like, to a T almost, the parts where he goes onto his Facebook and he's posting a video about how he's not on there to do this and that, like, it's exactly the same thing. So Dr. Todd Grande posted this 2 days ago. Uh, I wonder how many other people are experiencing this across the world. It's not a mental condition. It's not a mental condition, and it's not a dissatisfaction. So what I can tell you what I'm in the process of doing. Uh, Getting rid of things so that I can clean the dust to make sure myself I'm doing the best I can to make sure it's not mold. And that's all I can do. And that's all they wanted, I guess. It's mold. No, it's not mold. I just want them to come and test it. I wonder. I wonder. The V2K is telling me, like, every time I. I call it V2K because it's a voice that's I'm not supposed to be hearing in my apartment. So it could be an electronic. uh, it's like a piezoelectronic speaker or something like that. Micro speaker. You can make some things without electricity with crystals. Right? My point is to tell you how it's possible instead of just talk about it, because just talking about it sounds crazy. But if I tell you how it's possible and how easy it is to do, you're like, oh my gosh. So look some things up. Realize everything. Mr. Wizard, motherfucker, like science. Like, you don't know? So 98% of people are gonna just believe whatever they hear or say. It's only 2% of people that are smart enough to go and do the research when it's something that's unbelievable. And then if you do the research on unbelievable things, you come to find out that it's not as unbelievable as you may think. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm gonna finish my day now. Well, finish getting it started. You know, have a good one.